You try to stay calm. You try to be the bigger person. But then someone says something sharp, and suddenly you are back in the cycle. You feel the heat in your chest. You feel the need to bite back. You are stuck in a loop of reacting. It feels like you are losing your grip, doesn't it? Every time you react, you are not just losing your cool, you are handing over the keys to your own mind. It is time to stop being a puppet in someone else's show. Let us talk about the real reason you keep getting pulled into these traps and how you can finally break free. Lesson 1. The illusion of control. Most people walk around thinking they are the ones in charge. They believe that because they are the ones speaking loudly, defending their point, or firing back an angry text, they are winning. They think, I am standing my ground. I am not letting them walk all over me. But here is the hard truth. That is a complete illusion. Think of your mind like a car. You are in the driver's seat. You decide where you are going. You decide your mood. You decide your energy for the day. But the moment someone insults you, or critiques you, or ignores you, and you explode, what just happened? You just jumped out of the driver's seat and handed the steering wheel to them. When you react instantly, you are not making a choice. You are being moved. You are like a chess piece being pushed around by someone else's hand. If they can make you angry, they can make you move. If they can make you sad, they can make you stop. If they can make you defensive, they can make you look weak. Imagine two co-workers, let us call them Mark and Sarah. They are in a meeting. A manager points out a mistake in their project. Mark immediately gets hot. His face turns red. He starts talking fast, trying to prove he is right, blaming others, and getting louder. He thinks he is showing strength by defending himself, but everyone else in the room is just watching him lose his composure. They see someone who is easy to shake. Now look at Sarah. She hears the same criticism. She pauses. She takes a breath. She keeps her face steady. She looks at the manager and says, I see what you mean. I will look into that and fix it. She does not fight. She does not rush. She stays in control of herself. Who is actually powerful here? Sarah is. Why? Because she kept her hands on the steering wheel. She did not let the manager's words change her internal state. When you react, you are giving away your peace, your energy, and your dignity. You are telling the world, my happiness depends on what you say to me. But when you stay calm, you send a different message. You are saying, your words are just noise. I am the one who decides how I feel. Real strength is not about who can shout the loudest. It is about who can stay the quietest under pressure. It is about realizing that reacting is automatic, but responding is intentional. The next time you feel that trigger, remember, don't let them grab your steering wheel. Keep your hands on the wheel, keep your eyes on the road, and keep moving in your own direction. Because the person who controls their emotions is the only one who truly controls their life. Lesson 2. The button pusher myth. You might be thinking, but some people are just experts at pushing my buttons. They know exactly what to say to get under my skin. They make me feel small. They make me insecure. They make me lose my head. But here is a secret that will change how you see every argument. Nobody can actually push your buttons if the button is not already there. Think about it. If someone walks up to you and calls you a name that is completely wrong, let us say they call you a professional basketball player when you have never touched a ball in your life, you would probably just laugh. It is ridiculous, right? It does not hurt because it is not true. You have no button for that. But if someone calls you lazy or incompetent and you suddenly explode, why does that hurt so much? It is because that button was already buried deep inside you. The person who insults you did not create that feeling of insecurity. They only touched a wound that was already waiting to be triggered. Maybe you have been feeling guilty about your productivity lately. Or maybe you have a deep-seated fear that you are not good enough. When they say those words, they are just pressing on a bruise you already have. Let us look at two people, Leo and Sam. Someone tells Leo he is not smart. Leo knows his worth. He knows how hard he works, and he feels secure in his own skin. He just shrugs it off. It is like water off a duck's back. But Sam hears the exact same comment and goes into a rage. Sam has been struggling with self-doubt for years. The comment hits a nerve. Sam reacts, defends himself, and creates a scene. Who pushed the button? No one. The comment was just a mirror. It revealed what Sam was already carrying around inside. This is why reacting is so dangerous. Every time you snap back, you are basically showing the other person exactly where your weaknesses are. You are pointing at your own emotional map and saying, here is where I am hurt. Here is where I am insecure. And guess what? Next time, they will hit that spot again. When you are truly secure, you do not need to defend yourself. When you are confident, you do not need to prove anything to anyone. When you are stable, you do not need to win every fight. Instead of blaming them for making you angry, start asking yourself, what is it inside me that reacted so strongly? That one question is the key to your freedom. It turns your pain into a lesson. It shifts you from being a victim of someone else's words to being a master of your own emotions. You stop trying to change the people around you and start healing the parts of yourself that are easily triggered. And once you remove those internal buttons, you become unshakable. People can try to provoke you all they want, but they will find nothing to grab onto. That is what it means to be truly free. Lesson 3. Reaction versus response. You need to understand the fundamental difference between these two things, because it is the line between being a slave to your emotions and being the master of your life. A reaction is automatic. It is like a reflex. You touch a hot stove, you pull your hand away. That is a reaction. It is fast, unconscious, and driven by your emotions. But a response? A response is intentional. It is a choice. It is the result of you stopping, thinking, and then deciding how to act. Most people spend their entire lives in reaction mode. Someone cuts them off in traffic. They honk and yell. A colleague sends a rude email. They fire back a sharp, sarcastic reply within seconds. Their mood is constantly being dictated by the world around them. But the people who truly win in life, they are the ones who have mastered the art of the response. Think of it as a gap. Between the thing that happens to you, the stimulus, and what you do about it, the response, there is a space. In that tiny space, your power lives. If you react immediately, you lose that space. You let the other person dictate your speed, your tone, and your energy. But if you protect that space, you keep your power. Let us imagine you get a message that feels like a personal attack. If you reply while your heart is racing and your ego is bruised, you are operating from your emotional brain. You will likely say something you regret later. You might burn a bridge you needed to cross later. But what if you take the pause? What if you step away, take a few deep breaths, and let that initial surge of adrenaline fade? Now your logical brain has time to wake up. You move from the emotional, reactive state to a calm, objective state. Your reply changes. Instead of being harsh, it becomes clear, firm, and professional. You didn't give them what they wanted, a fight, but you didn't let them walk all over you either. That is not weakness. That is high-level discipline. Remember, reacting feels good in the moment because it gives you a quick hit of emotional release, but it weakens you in the long run. Responding might feel slower and it takes more effort, but it builds your character. Every time you choose to pause, you are training your mind to be stronger. You are telling yourself that your emotions do not control your decisions. The next time you feel that urge to snap, just stop. Wait 10 seconds. Take a breath. Protect that space. It is in that quiet moment that you find your real strength. Because anyone can explode, but it takes a truly powerful person to stay calm, observe, and respond with intention. Lesson 4. Why they provoke you. Let's be real for a second. Not everyone you meet is looking for a peaceful conversation. Some people thrive on drama. They want to see if they can shake you, rattle you, or get under your skin. For these people, your emotional reaction is like a prize. It tells them that they have power over you, and in their minds, that makes them feel big. Think of it like a game. When someone tries to provoke you, they are essentially testing the fence. They want to see if they can climb over, break through, or make you lose your cool. If you react, if you snap back, get defensive, or start explaining yourself, you have essentially opened the gate for them. You have given them exactly what they were fishing for. Your anger, your frustration, your need to justify your actions, that is all fuel for their fire. Consider a situation at the office. Maybe a coworker makes a snide, sarcastic comment about your work in front of the team. If you immediately get defensive and start arguing, the focus shifts. Suddenly, the team isn't thinking about your work anymore. They are focused on your outburst. The person who provoked you has won because they shifted the spotlight from their own behavior to your reaction. But what happens if you stay calm? What if you just give them a slight smile and continue with your day as if they said nothing at all? They are left standing there, looking petty and insecure. Their attempt to dominate you failed, and now the spotlight is back on them. Your silence acts like a mirror, reflecting their own instability back at them. People often provoke others because they are uncomfortable with their own lack of success or confidence. Your progress reminds them of their own stagnation, so they try to pull you down to their level. When you don't react, you are essentially saying, "I am not playing your game." You are telling them that their opinion does not have the power to define your reality. The next time someone tries to push your buttons, don't view it as a personal attack. View it as a test of your own maturity. They are showing you who they are, but you are showing the world who you are. The person who cannot be provoked is the person who cannot be controlled. And when you realize that their provocation is just a sign of their own weakness, you will find that you don't even need to be bothered. You become untouchable. And that is a level of dominance that no amount of shouting can ever achieve. Lesson 5. The trigger map. Most of us walk around believing that we just lose our cool because of the situation. We say, "I reacted because they were rude," or "I got angry because they were unfair." But that is only half the story. The truth is, every time you have a massive emotional reaction, it is not just about what is happening right now. It is about a pattern that has been living inside you for a long time. I call this the trigger map. Think of it as a personal blueprint of your own emotional vulnerabilities. Instead of just brushing off your frustration, I want you to start studying it. Every time you feel that surge of anger or embarrassment, I want you to pause and ask yourself 3 simple yet deeply powerful questions. What exactly happened? What was the specific feeling that bubbled up? And why did this hit me so hard? That third question is where the magic happens. Let's say you get really upset when someone interrupts you while you are speaking. On the surface, it seems like a normal annoyance, but if you dig deeper, you might realize that this triggers a memory from your childhood where your voice was constantly ignored or dismissed. The interruption isn't the real problem. The history of being unheard is. When you connect the present moment to that old story, the power of the trigger starts to fade. You stop saying, "People are so disrespectful," and you start saying, "This is just an old pattern trying to pull me in." Awareness is like a light in a dark room. Once you see the pattern, you are no longer a victim of it. You become an observer. You cannot fix what you refuse to look at. If you keep telling yourself that you are just a hot-headed person, you will stay stuck in that loop forever. But if you commit to mapping your triggers, you start to see your own red zones. You learn where you are vulnerable, and you learn how to protect those parts of yourself. This is not about suppressing your emotions or pretending they don't exist. It is about gaining such a deep understanding of yourself that nothing can catch you off guard. When you know your triggers, you stop walking blindly into emotional traps. You become the architect of your own peace. The more you understand your internal world, the less power the outside world has to shake you. You aren't just reacting anymore, you are growing. And that is the ultimate form of emotional mastery. Lesson 6. Emotional Energy Protection. Think of your energy as a limited resource, like a battery in your phone. Every day, you start with a full charge. But every time you get into an unnecessary argument, every time you waste hours replaying a negative comment in your head, and every time you defend yourself against people who don't actually matter, you are draining that battery. By the time you get to the important work, the goals that truly define your future, you are already running on empty. Most people are not exhausted because they work too hard. They are exhausted because they fight emotional battles that they didn't need to join in the first place. Imagine someone who is building a business. They are focused, they are driven. But then a random person leaves a hateful comment, or a friend makes a sarcastic remark. Instead of letting it go, this person spends the next 3 hours crafting the perfect reply, feeling angry, and venting to anyone who will listen. They have just traded their creative energy for a temporary, empty victory. Contrast that with someone who treats their energy like gold. They see the negativity, they evaluate it, and if it provides no value, they simply delete it from their mind. They don't carry the stress home. They don't replay the drama before they go to sleep. They save their fuel for things that actually build their life. Years down the line, the difference between these two people is massive. One is drained and stuck in a loop of drama, while the other has built something meaningful because they had the energy to stay consistent. This is what I mean by emotional energy protection. It is the realization that your peace is more expensive than any argument. It is the decision that your inner state is a private space, and you are not letting just anyone walk in and mess it up. When you stop reacting to every little thing, you are not being passive. You are being strategic. You are choosing to invest your focus where it counts. If you react to everything, you will be controlled by everything. But if you protect your energy, you protect your potential. Remember, the world will always have noise. There will always be critics, there will always be drama, and there will always be people who want to drain your battery. But you are the guardian of your own energy. When you stop leaking power through constant reactions, you will find that you have a reserve of strength you never knew you had. That strength is what makes you unstoppable. Keep your battery charged, keep your focus sharp, and don't waste your life force on things that don't deserve a second of your time. Lesson 7. Silence as strategy. Most people are terrified of silence. They feel like if they don't jump in with a witty comeback, a sharp defense, or a long explanation, they are losing the game. When someone challenges them, their instinct is to rush in and fill the air with noise. But here is what you need to understand. Silence is not a sign of weakness. Silence is your most sophisticated tool for control. It is a firewall for your mind. Think about how a high-security computer system works. It doesn't react to every single signal that hits it. It filters. It blocks the junk, it ignores the noise, and it only lets through what is actually worth processing. You need to build a firewall just like that. When someone says something meant to hurt you, trigger you, or drag you into drama, don't feel obligated to respond. Just like that system, you can choose to block the signal. When you stay silent in the face of aggression, you create a vacuum. The other person is expecting a reaction. They are waiting for you to get loud, get angry, or get defensive. When you give them nothing, they start to feel uncomfortable. Their own words start to hang in the air, exposed and petty. You don't need to say a word to win the moment. Your stillness does the work for you. Imagine you are in a team meeting and a colleague tries to belittle your idea with a snarky comment. If you fire back, you are just adding to the chaos. But if you just pause, look them in the eye, and say nothing for a few seconds, the room changes. The tension shifts away from you and onto them. Your silence is a statement. It says, I don't need to prove myself to you. It says, your opinion is not important enough to break my composure. Silence protects your reputation. Once you say something in the heat of the moment, you can't take it back. Words spoken in anger can ruin years of trust. But silence is clean. It keeps your image intact and shows everyone watching that you are the most steady person in the room.
In a world where everyone is shouting to be heard, the person who knows when to remain silent stands out as rare and powerful. This isn't about being cold or ignoring the truth. It is about emotional maturity. It is about understanding that not every comment deserves your energy. You have big goals, big dreams, and big things to build. Why would you waste your time fighting small battles against small-minded people? Silence is your way of saying that your future is more important than their current drama. Keep your peace, keep your composure, and let your silence be the loudest thing in the room. Lesson 8. The Ego Trap. At the center of almost every emotional reaction is a little voice inside your head. We call it the ego. It is that part of you that is constantly keeping score. The part that screams, "I must be right," "I cannot look foolish," or "I need to defend my pride." The ego is incredibly fragile, and that is why it reacts so fast. It feels threatened by the smallest things, a disagreement, a correction, or even just being ignored. When your ego is in the driver's seat, you turn every normal interaction into a battle. If someone suggests a different way to do your work, your ego says, "They are questioning my intelligence." If a friend doesn't text you back immediately, your ego says they are being disrespectful. It turns the world into a series of personal attacks that you feel you have to win. But here is the reality. The constant need to prove yourself is not a sign of strength. It is a sign of deep-rooted insecurity. Think about a professional athlete who is being coached. When the coach points out a mistake, the athlete has two paths. If their ego is in control, they get offended, they argue, and they shut down. They stop growing because they are too busy protecting their pride. But if the athlete is secure, they listen, they take the feedback, and they use it to get better. They don't need to be right. They need to be effective. The moment you stop feeling like you have to defend your ego is the moment you become truly dangerous in your field. When someone criticizes you, stop and ask, is this actually useful information, or is this just noise? If it is information, take it and improve. If it is just noise, let it slide. By separating your identity from the opinions of others, you stop being a puppet to their words. Confident people don't need to win every argument. They don't need to have the last word. They know who they are, and that knowledge is enough. When you are secure, you don't feel the need to prove your worth to anyone. You let the ego scream, but you choose to listen to wisdom instead. You let the ego react, but you choose to observe. Winning the argument is a temporary, hollow victory. Winning the battle against your own ego is a permanent, life-changing shift. The more you let go of that need to be right, the more power you actually gain. You become free from the traps of constant validation and defensive behavior. You start to realize that your worth isn't something that can be taken away by a stranger's comment. And once you reach that level of detachment, you are no longer playing by anyone else's rules. You are playing by your own. Lesson 9. Strategic non-reaction. You might think that not reacting means you are being weak or passive, but it is actually one of the smartest moves you can make. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is absolutely nothing. You see, most people get caught up in every little conflict because they feel like they have to defend their honor or prove they are right. But strong people know that not every situation deserves a seat at their table. Think of your life like a busy operating system. Every second you are bombarded with signals, opinions, criticisms, drama, and provocations. If you try to process and respond to every single one of them, your system is going to crash. You will burn out. You will lose your focus. But if you have a firewall in place, a strategic filter, you can decide what gets your attention and what gets ignored. This is strategic non-reaction. It is the ability to look at a situation and ask yourself, is this actually worth my time? Is this person trying to help me grow, or are they just looking for a reaction? If it is just noise, you block it. No argument, no drama, no emotional energy wasted. You just keep moving forward. When you choose not to engage, you are effectively stepping out of their game. Provocateurs want a partner for their dance. And when you refuse to step onto the floor, they are left looking foolish, dancing by themselves. You aren't being a doormat, you are being a gatekeeper. You are deciding that your future, your goals, and your peace of mind are far too valuable to be traded for a petty argument. Winning an argument rarely changes anything in the real world. You might get the last word, but you lose your calm, you lose your focus, and you lose your dignity. Real winners understand that the ultimate victory is walking away with your peace intact. When you stop reacting to the small stuff, you gain the mental clarity to focus on the big stuff, the goals that actually matter. So from now on, treat your attention like a high-value asset. Don't spend it on people who want to drag you down. Don't spend it on conflicts that go nowhere. If it doesn't serve your growth or your purpose, simply let it pass. That is not weakness. That is intelligent filtering. That is the quiet dominance of someone who knows exactly where they are going and refuses to be distracted by the noise on the sideline. Lesson 10. The strongest person in the room. Who is truly the strongest person in the room? It is never the loudest one. It is not the person who is quick to anger, the one who tries to dominate the conversation, or the one who reacts to every little spark of drama. Those people are actually the most fragile because they are easily controlled by anyone who knows how to push their buttons. The strongest person is the one who remains steady when everything else is shaking. Think about a time when things went wrong at work or in your personal life. When chaos happens, voices rise, fingers start pointing, and emotions run wild. But then there is always that one person who stays grounded. They breathe slowly. They speak clearly. They don't get caught up in the blame game. They are the anchor in the middle of the storm. When you remain calm under pressure, you send a powerful message to everyone around you. You are saying that your state of mind is not for sale. You are proving that you have mastery over yourself, and that kind of presence is rare. People are naturally drawn to stability. In a world that feels increasingly frantic, everyone is looking for someone they can trust to keep their head. When you become that person, you don't have to chase respect. It follows you. Emotional stability is the ultimate form of leadership. You don't need a title or a loud voice to command a room. You just need to be the one who refuses to be shaken. Anyone can be calm when life is easy and everything is going according to plan. But being calm when you are being attacked, criticized, or misunderstood, that is a superpower. That is the kind of authority that cannot be faked. If someone can disturb your inner peace, you have given them power over you. But when you build that internal wall, you become unbreakable. You keep your voice steady when others raise theirs. You keep your mind clear when others panic. You keep your dignity when others lose theirs. That is real strength. You don't need to announce it, and you don't need to prove it. People will simply feel it. So stop trying to win the battle of opinions and start winning the battle of your own state of mind. Become the calm center. When the world around you gets loud, get quiet. When the world gets fast, get steady. Be the stability that the world is starving for, and you will always be the strongest person in any room you walk into.